Hey, what's going on everybody? Zach from barbellphysio.com. I'm really excited that you downloaded my new weightlifting skills progression chart, which I think is going to be a great roadmap for you, whether you're an athlete, coach, or clinician, to understand some different progressions that we want to see athletes move through to optimize their performance while staying healthy. So let's talk a little bit about how to utilize this chart. So something that CrossFit headquarters, for example, is really big on is emphasizing learning proper mechanics, consistently reproducing those mechanics before we add intensity to the equation. And that's what this chart is all about. Mechanics, consistency, and then intensity. So we've got a number of different factors going on here. We're thinking about mobility, strength, coordination, and the dynamics of certain movements to progress them from easier variations to harder variations. So again, you can use this as a roadmap to understand where in these skill development progressions you need to be spending your time. So let's break this out a little bit, and you can follow along with me on your PDF for a little bit easier viewing here, but we're gonna stop in the top left. And what we're gonna see is in each of these columns, we have a progression as an individual moves down. For example, I wanna see somebody do a good air squat before they progress to these other variations. The second easiest squat variation for most individuals to use is going to be a goblet squat. And then, this is a little individualized between people, but a back squat or front squat will be a little bit harder than a goblet squat, but certainly harder than all of those variations for most individuals is going to be an overhead squat, which just requires significantly more coordination and mobility throughout the entire body. So we have this vertical progression through the squat, just like we have from a pull from the ground, where maybe we have an individual practice a hip hinge with a dowel to learn to disassociate lumbar spine motion from hip motion as they progress to a Romanian deadlift, a hip hinge pattern through kind of partial range of motion, to a deadlift which just incorporates more range of motion, then finally to a kettlebell swing, which is a much more dynamic movement in the hip hinge pattern. Then if we're also talking about like mechanics, being able to consistently reproduce those mechanics, if we come down to the Olympic lifting, you'll see we start with the medicine ball clean. An exercise that for a lot of individuals teaches them the mechanics of the Olympic lifts and creating that triple extension that we want to focus on before we move into harder variations of the Olympic lifts, where we're starting from a high hang and catching in a power position and progressing down to pulling from the ground, catching in a squat position, because the technique required and mobility required for those further down variations are a little bit harder. Just like for most individuals, teaching the clean is a little bit harder than teaching the snatch. So we've also got a little bit of a horizontal progression as well, where for most of the time I'm going to teach an individual how to clean before the snatch. Again, a slightly more technical movement that requires more mobility for most individuals. So we're going to want to progress both down and across. And so for example, before I want somebody doing a full squat snatch, I want to see that they have a solid push press. Because to me, the push press is a great exercise to look at. Can this individual create strength, power, momentum with their lower body and core and translate that into their upper body? If you don't have a solid push press, then I'm not feeling comfortable having that individual perform a snatch, for example. So we've got a lot of different variations in here. Again, this is a generalized roadmap. Everybody's going to be a little bit different in some of these progressions, but use this as an overall picture. And then in the far right column, this one could actually kind of be a little bit separate, but we talk about a pistol squat progression. And that's quite a bit different than the rest of the movements on this chart, but I also thought for a lot of individuals, being able to understand a pistol squat progression would be really important. The final thing that I think is really cool about this chart is the vast majority of these boxes are clickable. For instance, if you need to work on your pistol squat and you click any of these boxes, it's going to take you to an article I wrote that breaks down the pistol squat mobility needs, which the mobility needs of a pistol squat are significant. It takes you through a strength progression within the pistol squat. If you click the Olympic lifting stuff, it takes you to a video that I created with two-time national champion in weightlifting, Jared Fleming, where we talk about the technique and mobility requirements of the clean and the snatch and a lot of different drills that'll help you dial in your technique. If you click the push press button, it'll take you to a video that I have where I talk about push press mechanics and technique. And if you go into the squat, there are a variety of different mobility programs that you can click on. As far as overall squat mobility, you can click on a program that'll take you to my overhead squat mobility overhaul, or if you click the squat button, it'll take you to my video Master the Squat. So if you're a coach or clinician, that's the one you want to click. That's an 1.5 hour long video talking through the mobility, motor control, technique, strength of the squat, and everything I do when an athlete comes to me needing help with their squat from either a performance or an injury standpoint. So a really valuable tool for you. Again, I'm really excited that you downloaded this. I really hope it spurs some ideas in your mind, gets you thinking through some different progressions, and the resources in these buttons really help you dive deeper into different concepts in athletic performance and injury prevention as well as rehab. So thanks for downloading, everybody. Have a great day.